A great victory for the Bears a day earlier, Olin. And let's just start with your immediate reaction on the postgame show, and you guys did a terrific job. You said this Bears offensive line was the best in football. How surprised are you that you're able to make that statement this late in the season?
I'm really surprised, right? With just all the problems that we have had, and Ryan Poles went out there and traded for Tooney and Jonah Jackson. I think Tooney was a fourth-round pick, and Jonah Jackson was a sixth-round pick, and then signed Dahlman and Darnell Wright. We were talking about his development. Where would that go? And who the hell would be the left tackle this year, right? And Braxton Jones and Theo Bennett, and then obviously now we got Ozzie Trapillo out there, but we're out there rushed for 200. The running backs ran for 255 yards, and the team ran for 281 yards. And after that, great play by Nashawn Wright, where he pulls the ball out from Jalen Hurts on the tush push and causes that fumble. The Bears ran the ball 9 times out of 12 plays for a go-ahead touchdown there, and to take a good lead after the Eagles missed an extra point. But just to watch this offensive line play and dominate a lot of it, guys, is obviously the plan, the scheme, and what Ben Johnson and Coach Roshar and Eric Bieniemy and Jim Dre, the tight end coach, what they're putting out there is really fun to watch on film. They had the linebackers and the safeties and the D linemen. They had them in what we call a blender, man. They didn't know which way the play was going. They were running after Caleb when it was a running play. They were chasing wide receivers in the flat, which is all part of the plan. And in the offensive line, guys, moving guys off the ball. Dahlman versus Jordan Davis, maybe something you worried about going into the game. I thought Dahlman did a hell of a job with a lot of one-on-one blocks. And then Jonah Jackson, Darnell Wright, and Tooney, and these guys, the movement they got, guys, the way they dominated that football game was really fun to watch. A lot of credit to the Chicago Bears, an offensive line that I think probably the best in the NFL right now. If you talk about Jonah Jackson, maybe a guy who's headed to first team All-Pro.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. I think what I found kind of extraordinary is the coach before he tore his shirt off, and he's a very physically fit man. But he gave the game ball to the offensive line, and it was Jonah Jackson that had it, and he talked briefly on behalf of the offensive line. And I thought, oh, well, that's answering a question I've had, is who's the leader of that group? He seemed comfortable. I think Joe Tooney is probably the most celebrated of the group, just in terms of his career and what he's accomplished. But it was interesting. Personality-wise, it looked like he had no problem being the guy that held up the ball and started talking to his teammates comfortably. And I wondered, so is he sort of the captain of that particular group?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Something we don't know unless we're in the locker room, but that gives you a little hint into maybe who is the guy that speaks for the group, who is the guy that people turn to say, okay, how do we get the offensive line going today? Look, maybe Coach Ben Johnson walking on the field telling Jonah Jackson, hey, we need this out of the offensive line today. Make sure you get them going. Make sure you get them moving in the right direction. I'm sure Tooney is also one of those guys, and so is Dahlman. They seem to have more than one leader on that offensive line, which most offensive lines do, right? Even when I played, Ruben Brown was a great leader. Roberto Garza, another really good leader. John Tate, all these guys led in the room when you have a good offensive line who helps the team win a game, like you just saw the Chicago Bears do. And then Coach Roshar obviously doing a great job. Funny story, obviously I'm an old football guy, so when Ben Johnson tore his shirt off, I'm like, what the hell is he doing? You didn't win anything yet, right? I mean, you didn't clinch the playoffs, you didn't win the North, you didn't win. You saved that for winning the Super Bowl, right? An old football guy like me thinks I drive down to Illinois, get to the field, my son James has his shirt off pre-game, so I lose on that.
But Olin, Ben Johnson's feeding the hungry.
Yeah, that's for free hot dogs.
If you want, David, I heard you earlier. I know you got, you're really got Ben Johnson on a pedestal right now, so it's good. Look, I love it, man. The way they're playing, the way they're winning, nothing to say. A little early for me on the shirt rip off, but this guy has not been wrong on the things that he has done this year. Look, I picked against the Chicago Bears the last 3 weeks. Ben Johnson and his group up there at Hallis Hall continue to prove me wrong on the way they play football games. Go to the Eagles, beat the defending champions. Don't like the shirt coming off that early in the season. Don't like it coming off, before you even clinch a playoff berth or you clinch the North or you win the Super Bowl. But look, continue to prove you wrong. Like you said, this guy is calculated, seems to know what he's doing. If you guys want to call him in great shape and put him on Men Fitness, put him on magazine, by all means, go ahead.
But okay, so go down that road though, because I think it's
Yeah.
you need that. Be skeptical, be demanding, and tell us why that is maybe overboard. Tell me why I need to slow down, because it is hard to do that when you have a coach as impressive as he has been in the first season. But I think it's fair to take a deep breath and say, all right, is this too much too soon? What do you see, or what are things that you are looking for that maybe tell you that it's appropriate to maybe not get too carried away?
I tell you what, man, it's appropriate with the seasons that we've had. I'm a little more in the other corner. I'm a little more getting carried away. Actually, I obviously don't agree with the shirt off this early, but the Chicago Bears are, man, when you put their film on, I said this after the game. I said this going into the week. They're a fun team to watch on film. This is a good football team. Didn't even have them beating the Eagles, but they went out there, physically dominated them. Dennis Allen's group puts on one hell of a performance over there in Philadelphia, continues the Eagles' offensive struggles after the Dallas game, going into that football game, using all the pieces that he has, still having backup linebackers in there, still having that defensive line attacking people, getting Kyler Gordon back, getting Jalen Johnson back, running dime, running Kyler Gordon and C.J. Gardner-Johnson off the edges on blitzes, putting them on the field together. Just a really, really fun game plan to watch, even on the defensive side of the ball, guys. And the offensive side of the ball, they're fun to watch. They're a physical football team. They play a Chicago brand of football, and then they have a young quarterback who makes plays at the end of games to win games, whether it be with his feet, whether it be flipping his hips, rolling to his left, and finding Cole Kmet for the touchdown. Just a lot of things on this film that you're really impressed of when you do watch. So go ahead, man. With all the losing we've done, with all we all know all the stats and all the records and everything going into this game. They lost the first 2 games of the year. Now they're 9-1 in their last 10. It's all right to get a little bit carried away. Obviously, an old football guy like me that worries, a little skeptical. You see the shirt come off a little early, right? I'd love for him to be on the Super Bowl float, ripping his shirt off, and I'd like, yeah, man, rip your shirt off, rip your pants off, go down to your underwear if you want.
Don't tempt him.
That's so funny. Olin, you haven't picked the Bears of late, but I know for a fact you'll be picking them this week. I don't think you've ever picked the Packers over the Bears. When we look at the NFC North, right? That game on Thursday between the Detroit Lions and Green Bay, I just think one of the things that you realize about Ben Johnson is not only has he made an impact on the Bears, but man, he's making a huge impact in Detroit. They really miss him. They could use him. And Dan Campbell has gone haywire with all the fourth down stuff. I mean, if he just kicked field goals, he might have won that game or been in a position to win it. It's weird to see the impact of a play caller leaving a team as much as the impact of him arriving.
Yeah, that's a great point by you. And when you watch the film and you watch the Lions film, you do see the difference in play calling. You do see the details, the scheme, the little things that the Bears are doing now that maybe you don't see on the Lions film. And obviously, Amon-Ra St. Brown goes out early that game. They don't have Frank Ragnow anymore. They have a few missing pieces on that offensive line going into the season, right? So you do understand that when you're watching the Detroit Lions offense. It wasn't the same group that Ben Johnson had, but he is a dynamic play caller. Everyone knew that there. You've heard things about this guy for a while. He just didn't take head coaching jobs. The Bears' job was the job that he wanted. He finally left Detroit. And like you're saying, it has made a huge difference for the Chicago Bears, and it's affecting the Detroit Lions. They've fired their offensive coordinator. Campbell's calling plays. He didn't even think about that, right, with Ben Johnson as offensive coordinator. He didn't even consider going and taking the play sheet from the offensive coordinator and calling football plays. So very interesting, like you're saying, to watch how Ben Johnson has affected this NFC North. And you take, credit Ryan Poles for going over there and getting Ben Johnson, hiring him, giving him what he wanted. You strengthen your team and you weaken your opponent. And that's the best kind of hire you can make.
Olin, how do you get a book on Dennis Allen? Because it's really I'm finding it difficult, but I think in a good way for the Bears against, say, Mason Rudolph a week earlier against the Steelers. They sat back and essentially kept everything in front of them, and it was check down city, and you didn't let anybody get behind you. Against the Eagles, did not expect them to come after Jalen Hurts, and they did so 50% of the time in the first half and 44 overall. I don't know what to expect on a week-to-week basis. Maybe that's the beauty of having a veteran defensive coordinator, but do you have any insight or any sense of what to expect on a regular basis from Dennis Allen?
He does a nice job mixing it up and attacking what the quarterback and or the offense is struggling with. And on a week-to-week basis, it looks like, it depends on who he's got. You got Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon back. He said, oh, man, maybe on third down, I'll go after this guy a little bit and play some man coverage. I got my all-pro cornerback back, and obviously Jalen Johnson wasn't fully 100%. But when he went out, Kyler Gordon came in, a lot of confidence in him, right? And we talked about bringing C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Kyler Gordon off the edge. But even in, the versus the Steelers late in the game, they moved Olin out to kick a field goal to tie the game up. And he got aggressive on them too, right? He started bringing blitzes, and Brisker tipped the ball to end the game. So Dennis Allen, man, he's going to challenge you. He's going to sit back. He's going to mix it up. Nice little blitz there. Bringing, I think, they actually Dallas Cowboys showed on the week before, but bringing a linebacker, bringing Billings on a return stunt on the center. Billings causes pressure. Hurts rolls out, and then, man, Byard, he's like Ken Griffey Jr. back there, right? Playing center field, tracking the ball, making a catch. But all those things are like you're talking about, David. The defense is really bought in to their defense coordinator. He's making a lot of the right calls. And something I was thinking about when I was watching the Chiefs play the other day was, do we have our Steve Spagnuolo, right? A guy who's got his chance to be the head coach. If you think about the Chicago Bears and their coaching staff, Ben Johnson, we know our offensive scheme is not going anywhere, right? We got our head coach, but also with the defensive coordinator, he's had his chance to be the head coach, and maybe we got our guy who will be here for a long time too. So the defense is playing really good football. People can't get a book on when he's going to play zone, when he's going to play man, when he's going to blitz you. A couple of blitz zeros there against the Philadelphia Eagles, was taking a chance with their wide receiver. I think you saw it one time, Devontae Smith running a wheel route on the sideline against DeMarco Jackson, and he makes a play, and it's just really fun to watch, right? Or was it Oglong?
It was Ogbongbemiga, yes.
Because I've been practicing that name. Oglong
well done.
Bumiga. He's earned the right for us to learn his name, right? He's earned the right the way he's been playing football out there and really battling with his teammates. And gosh, no matter who they give him, Coach Richard Smith, the linebacker coach, you just want to hand out roses all over this place to this coaching staff and the Chicago Bears.
I'm curious, when you look at Green Bay, when Ben Johnson was hired, he said something like, I like to beat Matt LaFleur a couple times a year. And it was, he was respectful toward everyone, maybe not Matt LaFleur. And then LaFleur came back and said something like, I don't know the guy. I don't even know who he is. So there's something going on there. Now you go up there, it just feels like, the Packers were playing poorly a couple of weeks ago. They seemed like they've righted their ship a bit. Certainly winning on Thursday has changed things. What do you anticipate? They're still pretty much 5.5 to 7 point favorites, Green Bay. But do you feel the Bears now, with the number one seed in the NFC, could really do something about that rivalry?
Yeah, I think they can. I think they look like a good, they have these elements that we talked about that are repeatable, right? Where they can cover guys in the secondary and their offensive line can run the football on the road, and they get takeaways, right? They get takeaways on the road, and that stuff is repeatable. Maybe Ben Johnson and LaFleur can both coach with their T-shirts off, two young guys who stay in shape, right? But if you talk about, since 2011, the Bears are 3-24, right? Versus the Packers, LaFleur is 11-1 versus Chicago Bears. The one was, last year they're already in the playoffs, and Jordan Love gets hurt and doesn't play, and Christian Watson goes out, and I'm sure they have their reasons. They lost that game up there. Lovie Smith came in and said the number one goal was to beat the Green Bay Packers, right? Yeah. Went up there and did beat them. Coach Ben Johnson came in this year, talked about the Green Bay Packers, talked about LaFleur, and then LaFleur said, I think he was on that frat party they call Busting with the Boys, whatever that is in there, where they're all in there, dipping and drinking beer and talking football. And LaFleur said he didn't know Ben Johnson. I'm sure as hell he knows him now. I'm sure he knows him now, and he knows what he's doing here. and he knows that what the Chicago Bears are doing. The Chicago Bears are coming up there, and Coach Halfley, their defense coordinator, does a great job. Probably the highest ranked defense the Bears have seen in a while, guys. Really exciting football game coming up, to be honest. Got to dive into more film to see the matchups and what is going to happen here. But Chicago Bears, as they showed you in Philadelphia, can compete. And I know that I saw the Packers are either, I saw Biggs tweeted they're -6, favored by 6, or now it's down
Right.
probably down to 5.5. That means people bet it down already. People excited about the Chicago Bears. Chicago Bears definitely have the elements, guys. Like always waiting to say, okay, are they as good, right? Are they as good? Everyone sees all the numbers with their point differential and a DVOA, and I just say that I don't know what the hell that is, but I guess it ranks their wins or whatever the hell that all that stuff means. But Chicago Bears, good football team, man. Really good football team. Run the football, play defense, take the ball away. I've heard that before. But the element, guys, the element that I keep seeing on film is people are worried about their quarterback, right? There was a touchdown in the game where 3 guys are watching, where Caleb had the ball, a D lineman loops out to get Caleb, Jalen Carter, Caleb makes the play to Cole Kmet. They know that if you overload the run, right, if you make it look like goal line versus Chicago Bears offensive line, Chicago Bears have Poston Loveland, they have DJ Moore, they have Rome Odunze, they have Cole Kmet, they have all these guys, man, that Caleb can get the ball to with his arm and make a play, and all these elements, along with Ben Johnson's play calling. Really, really dangerous offense right now. Really keeps you on your toes. Really, the elements they have that they can go out there and play against the Packers. I think it's going to be a good football game.
Olin, we'll let you go. I'm just curious, were you at all surprised that Trapillo kept that starting role when Theo Benedict came back, and do you think that will go on for a bit?
I was surprised. I wondered going into the game if Theo Benedict was completely 100% healthy, but Ozzie Trapillo, man, I mean, put another really good game on film. Obviously, they help him a lot, right? They give him chips from the tight ends and the running backs. And Joe Thuney does an awesome job staying in protection, helping Dog. A lot of pressure on the center when the guard has to get out to help the tackle a lot. So credit to Dahlman there, taking on Jordan Davis, taking on the defensive lineman for the Philadelphia Eagles. But Ozzie Trapillo doing a good job. And after watching those 2 games, I mean, him and Theo Benedict about even. Theo a little better run blocker, Ozzie a little better pass blocker. So I wouldn't be shocked if you stay out there. But gosh, guys, you guys know who's rushing on the edge for the Green Bay Packers, right? The guy, I think Coach Ben Johnson said a couple weeks ago against the Steelers, they have a couple of werewolves. This guy's the lead werewolf, right? He leads the pack.
Yeah, Micah Parsons.
Good
Great stuff,
Olin.
Olin. Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys.